welcome to NAPOD, where we provide NA speaker meetings and workshops in a podcast. We are an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us to be self-supporting by visiting napod.xyz, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 in the virtual basket. If you're also in AA or have friends that are, please tell them about our other podcast, Sobercast. Sobercast features AA speakers and workshops in the same format as NAPOD. We upload a new speaker every day, and it's easy to subscribe by searching for Sobercast, that's 2 words, on any podcast player app, or go to Sobercast.com. Enjoy the podcast, and thanks for listening.
At this time, I'd like to introduce you to our first speaker, Lorinda C. from New York.
Hi, family. I'm Lorinda, and I'm an addict. Oh, wow. Thank God I'm clean today. And I'd like to thank the convention, the World Convention, for asking me to come and share my experience, strength, and hope with you all. And I'm so overwhelmed, right? I thought I was nervous, but I'm not nervous. I'm just overwhelmed. Because I never thought in any dream of mine, ever, that somebody would come and ask me to share my story with them, especially with the world. And so I'm grateful. And I wanted to get on my plane this morning, right, to leave. Because I love doing service. I've been doing service since I got here. But I like doing service in the back. I don't like being out front. You know? And I still don't like being out front. And I don't like it today either. But it's my turn. And I can't keep it unless I give it away. And when I got here, they gave it away. And as I stay here, they continue to give it away. So I couldn't say no when they called me on the phone. I wanted to, because I've said no many times. No, I ain't doing it. I'll do something else. And that's not how it works, because I have a story to tell. And it's going to help somebody. And if it don't help nobody, it'll help me. So the topic is awakening of the spirit. And my spirit was dead for so long. Like I used drugs for such a long time. So long ago. As a kid, I used drugs. Because I was so afraid of my spirit. I was so afraid of life. I was so afraid of people. I didn't think that. I thought I was fine, you know. No, I didn't. I let y'all think I was fine. I knew inside that I was scared all the time. But I was not going to let anybody know, right? Because I was not raised to show feelings. I was not raised to show emotions. So if I could have it any way, I could still be in the room somewhere using drugs, not dealing with life, and let life pass me by. Thank you very much. And just let me die and just get it over with. Because for me, life is hard. It was hard using. It's hard now. The only difference now is that I don't fight as much. Then I fought against everything. I was rebellious. I was a Black Panther. I was anything that go against the laws of nature. The laws of nature, the laws of man, the laws of God, whatever law it was, I was breaking it. It didn't matter. The laws in school, I'm not following any rules and any regulations. But it hurt to not follow rules. So because it hurt, I used drugs. I started working very early because I needed drugs to feel better, because I told you I was breaking the rules, right? And I would be working and I would be so high. Or I would use my first drug, which was candy. I ate a lot of candy. I got outside myself with candy. I ate and ate and ate and ate. And until it got me to my drugs. And once I started using drugs, I used drugs. It wasn't about pleasure for me. It was always about getting me outside of myself. From the very moment I opened my eyes, I could not deal with Lorinda, could not deal with life. So I used, as soon as I woke up, I reached over and I started smoking. And that's what I did all day. I went to work. I was a productive member of society, whatever that is. Even today, I'm a productive member of society, whatever that is. I do it. But I stayed outside of myself. I stayed not feeling. Because for me, feeling meant I was a punk and I was vulnerable, and I was not going to be vulnerable, and I was not going to be a punk. Whatever that meant to me. It meant a lot of pain. I was raised not to feel feelings. I was raised not to tell people that I was going through a feeling. So shut up and be quiet. And so it works for me, shutting up, being quiet. It really works because it allowed me to do whatever it is that I wanted to do without voicing my feelings, right? So I did that for a very, very long time, not wanting to live. Thank you, God. Thank you. I tell you. Yo. He said, don't leave before the miracle. That was my miracle today. Right. Y'all can turn it back down, and I can finish doing what I'm doing. I love you. Thank you. I never wanted people to know that I was shy. I never wanted people to know that I was afraid. I wanted you to always think that I was hip. Although I never hung out with the hip crowd. Right? I've been a square all my life. I came in recovery as a square. I used as a square. You know, I wasn't in the streets. I wasn't out there selling drugs. I used all the drugs. I wasn't selling nothing. Right? Like, that was my job, to use them. If that was your job to sell them, then so be it. But my primary purpose was to get high and use up all the drugs and never, never tell you I was high, because I was never high. So I was also greedy, right? I told you I ate all the candy, right? So I sniffed all the drugs, you know. And although heroin was my primary drug, I used everything, even those that hurt me. Now that's crazy, right? Because they all hurt me, but even the ones that hurt me. When I say hurt, I meant take it and it would give me physical pain. I would get headaches from using drugs. But I continued to use them. And I remember coming to this program, right? And the woman that brought me in this program died clean. And she's no longer here. And she brought me here, and I didn't belong here. Because people was talking about doing some things that I hadn't done. So, you know, I was already better then because I told you I worked. So I was better then. So what? I'm in the same place, but I worked, so I was better then. And that kept me in some more denial. And it kept me in more pain. And it kept me staying quiet some more. Because I didn't want to tell y'all who I was. Because if I told you, I would be exposed. And I wasn't about to expose myself. So let me watch y'all get better. I didn't know I was watching y'all get better. I was like, God, they talk about that. Yeah. God, they say everything in the meeting. They talk about anything in the meeting. I ain't talking about that. I'm not talking about that. They told me get a sponsor. I didn't get a sponsor. My partner picked out my sponsor. I wasn't trying to use her because she was honest. I was a liar. They don't mix. They don't mix. So I left her alone. You know, I went on about my business to wreak havoc in every place that I went. But I stayed clean. I made meetings. I did service. It's not enough. It's really not enough. It kept me here, but I was in a lot of pain. And for those who are in pain by just staying here, it ain't going to get better till you do some work. So, after I stopped using drugs, I started shopping. That was the next thing, right? And I shopped until I couldn't shop no more because I was a productive member of society. Because I still went to work. And I bought all the shoes that I could possibly never ever wear, right? Because I told you I was greedy, right? So I had shoes of every color, every shape, and every style. And I gave them away. I never even got to wear them. Because it was the feeling I was after. I just wanted it. I wanted what I wanted because I couldn't deal with the pain. There's a hole. No, there was a hole. That hole ain't there like that. There was a hole that I was trying to fill. And I filled it with things. The drugs kept it filled for a long time, so I thought. And then I started eating more, so then I couldn't fit the shoes, so I had to give the shoes away anyway. And then I started buying bigger clothes, and I had to give the smaller clothes away. And it was a continuous, insane cycle. But I made meetings. I didn't talk about what I was going through. Never. But I made meetings. I talked in the back of the room. I didn't get better. I went home with the same issues I came in the rooms with for years. It didn't start getting better for me until my 9th year. But that's my story. It don't got to be yours. It really don't. It was painful. Very, very painful. And I ain't going to talk about the people I hurt because I'm talking about me that I hurt. Because I hurt me before I hurt you. And at 9 years, I became willing to do some work. And the work is the steps and the traditions. And a sponsor. That's the work. There's no other way to say it. That's the work. So if you're not doing that, I ain't saying you ain't clean because you could be clean. But you are still feeling that hole you came in here with. And you will continue to feel it until you do some work. So I started using my sponsor, the same woman that my partner picked out 9 years ago. And she started making me write some stuff and do some of this and sit down and talk about myself and tell her some of my secrets. And secrets I said I was taking with me. And even though I still say there's some I'm taking with me, if I keep them secrets, they will make me use with 18 years clean. Because it's happening. My secrets hurt me. They make me do things that I don't want to do. Because I got to keep the propaganda going over and over and over and over. I tell myself the same silly story, and I wind up in the same place. It could be in a different town, but I'm in the same place. I could be in a different state, but I'm still in the same place. I could be in another shoe store, but I still feel the same thing. The very same thing. I could buy another dress, another shoe, another pocketbook. I don't care what it is that I buy. It's not the article that I buy. It's what I feel in the moment. And most of the times I buy it and leave it in the bag and forget I got it. And go buy it again and wind up giving the other one away. I know y'all identify. I know. Yeah. Because I'm really not a hoarder. I will share what I have. Because the more I give you, then it gives me the excuse to buy some more. Right. I feel better if I give it away than I can go buy some more. I used to have hundreds of shoes in my house. I don't have hundreds of shoes in my house. I don't even have 50 pairs of shoes in my house no more. Probably don't even have 35, but that's a lot, right? Because I still ain't going to wear them. I'm still not going to wear them. I bought a pair of sandals with me to this convention that I bought almost 10 years ago. They're brand new. Beautiful. They came back out in style. They came back in style. Now all I need is a pocketbook. I haven't bought the pocketbook yet, so But that's how I live, like over and over and over. That's how it is for me. The money, the shoes, the job, over and over and over and over. And until I surrender. I don't care. I don't got on shoes today. I got on flip-flops. Yeah. They new though, but they flip-flops. Yeah. I bought these too. I bought them, but they're flip-flops. They're not shoes. Right? Denial, right? Right. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's the point I'm trying to make. I tell myself that BS. Right. Because I had a pair of shoes I could have put on. I wanted flip-flops to go with my sweatsuit. You know? I got a match from head to toe. You know, right? And what do it mean? It don't mean nothing. It don't mean a thing. Because my spirit was still as empty as it was. Today, I have a spirit of fullness. Like, although I want to run, I don't run anymore. Although I want to use sometimes, I don't use. I stopped smoking 8 years ago, right? I've been wanting a cigarette so bad. Y'all don't know how bad I want a cigarette. I want one. And so I watch other people, right? You know, so I smoke a cigarette instead of using. So, okay, that sounds right. If I pick up that cigarette, trust and believe I'm going to pick up a bag of dope. That's for me. Because that's how I use. I smoke and I smoke and I smoke and I smoke. And then once I stop feeling that high, I'm going to want the other head. So I've been fighting not smoking. When I surrender, it'll go away. When I surrender to all of my behaviors. I ain't trying to be no saint. That's not where I'm going. I'm not trying to be a saint, but I don't want to hurt like I hurt all my life. And I don't want to hurt me the way I hurt me all my life. Because I don't want to tell you I need help. I don't want to tell you that the little girl is crying out, please come play with me. Or, could you leave me alone? She don't want to be bothered today. She ain't mad at you. She just don't want to be bothered today. I know how to isolate. That's not getting better, isolating. Like, I have to tell people how I feel. And that's what I've been doing for the last year and a half. It's been so painful. Telling people how I feel. Because I feel if I tell you, you're going to leave me anyway. But what I'm finding out is I'm telling people how I feel, and they're staying. I didn't know that. My mother used to punish me when I talked about how I felt. She said children were to be seen and not heard. But I'm 51. I ain't no child. Talk about how you feel, Lorinda. But it's the little girl that's afraid. So if I don't say nothing, I could use that as an excuse, right? To do it again and again and again. If I say something and I tell you and you continue to do it, then I have to make a decision. And sometimes I don't want to make the decision. I want you to make the decision. And I've had to make a lot of decisions. And I'll make them just like that. It's living them that's the issue. Yeah. Or the consequences, you know. So when I act out, I know there's the consequences. I don't like them no more. I got enough of those beatings to not want to do those. I got enough of those beatings, you know, to beat me down till I surrender. Surrender to the God of my understanding, you know. I got a God too, you know. Sometimes I'm so full, I'm so scared. Like I'm just so scared that everything is all right. I was sitting on the beach this morning. Next week I'm going to be in New York, the taxi cab driver, the 8 train, everything will be running up and down this, I swear. Road rage, all of that. I'll be right back into the singer. But this morning, I got to come out of my hotel room, cross the street, and I was on the beach. Another dream that I had since I was a little girl. It came true because I didn't use. It came true. It came true because I ain't act out. It came true because I believe. It came true because I sat down. I had to learn how to be still and not isolate, but be still. I had to learn how to tell the truth. I had to learn how to trust. I had to learn how to stop being so arrogant. Sometimes those lessons are really, really painful for me because it hides my fear. I don't want y'all to know I'm scared. But whether you know I'm scared or not, it really don't matter because y'all don't have the power. I have the power. And I thought that people talked about themselves. I just thought they just like telling their business, right? Or giving me something to listen to, right? But they were the ones that was getting better, you know. And it took time for me. And it may take time for you. And it may take time for you. And it may take time for you. But when you're ready, you'll do it. They said this is a process. The process begins the moment we come into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I gave God permission, my sponsor permission, my sponsees permission to help me get better. But I have to give myself permission. So I'm at this World Convention, right? I'm at the World Convention. Yay. Yay. And now I can enjoy myself because I've been nervous the whole time. I want to be spiritual and the good, whatever. And like all y'all want from me is a clear message, that's all. Like how I haven't used in 18 years. Like how the people who I came here my first day kicking heroin, kicking methadone in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous are still in these rooms and they're still here to support me. Like my old timers are still around. I need my old timers to be around because they are my hope and my experience. And they keep me in line. See, I listen to my old timers because they got something to tell me because they stayed clean longer than I did. I might talk about them behind their back, but I do what they tell me to do. I really do what they tell me to do. You know, for real. They call me, come here. Look, come let me pray with you. All right. That's what you want me to do? Okay, I'll do it. You know, they loved me until I learned how to love myself. You know, and they continue to love me even when I don't like them. Right? They give me good, orderly direction. They gave it to me from day one, and they continue to give it to me. They still show up in meetings. So what? They got a life. They still come to meetings. I need to see them in the meeting. So what? They got years clean. They still use their sponsors. So what? I got years clean. I still need a sponsor. I still need to be directed because I'll act out in a given minute. Quick. I was going to fight the other night right in front of the convention center. Yeah, I was. Fight the lady. Road rage came right back. What? I was going to hit her with my pocketbook. I forgot just that quick. No humility, nothing. And she's probably an addict, and wherever you are, I apologize. Because I don't have no business acting like that. For what? She ain't really good. She bumped me. She don't know who I am. I'm another recovering addict. They got issues. They work on them. So I got some serious issues. And the more I stay clean, the more they come up. And the more I need to be aware, that's why I need to make amends. That's why I need to talk about how I feel. And that's why I need to be around safe people. And all of us are safe. We're just growing at our own pace. So, I'm Lorinda. I'm an addict. And thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our second speaker, Mark H. from New Zealand.
Hey, I'd just like to thank Lorinda one more time. Thank you. Wow, I'd love to stand up here and tell you that... oh yeah, I'm Mark, I'm an addict. There you go. That's good. Make the first mistake at the beginning. Maybe I won't make any more. I'd love to stand up here and tell you all that I got this phone call from Mike and I didn't think about it again, but I wouldn't be telling you the truth. What can I say to Narcotics Anonymous other than thank you? Thank you for this experience of being able to stand up here and speak to a room full of people. Because, I'll tell you a story. This is one of the ones I have, that I remember. Some of the things I remember about myself. When I was 6 months clean, I went on this charity parachute jump. So I went to the training and I did all the training. And at the end of the training, at 2,000 feet, I jumped out of this aeroplane with a parachute on my back. And about a week later, they asked me to chair my home group meeting. I was more terrified of chairing that meeting than I ever was jumping out of that aeroplane, I can tell you. I had an out-of-body experience. I was like floating on the ceiling, watching myself in front of this room of, I guess, perhaps 15, 20 people. So, I'm a little nervous tonight, but it's not as bad as a parachute jump. I guess, this is a meeting about spiritual awakening, or that was what I read in the program, and, that's real easy because this is a spiritual program to me. So almost anything I share about my story is about a spiritual awakening because that's what happened to me when I came here. I had no idea what was going to happen. I was kind of like the guy that liked to argue that there is no God. I hated the religious part of life in general. I would love to argue with people who would come to my door and tell me that, I need to be saved. I would like to argue with them that they were on the wrong path. I'd go back in my room and want to kill myself, but they were on the wrong path, and I knew what I was talking about. So, when I came to this program, I read the steps and I realized that if there was anything I had to let go of, it was my arrogance towards things of the spiritual program. Now, I still struggle with, the God word or whatever it is, but I'm still clean, I'm still in recovery, and I've learned that to have a spiritual experience and have a spiritual awakening this program, I didn't need to have some kind of white light experience where God came down and touched me personally. I needed to have an experience that was meaningful for me and touched me. And I think that the first spiritual experience that I can remember having was waking up one day and realizing that I couldn't get clean on my own and I needed help. That was before I ever came to a meeting. I realized that my life was going downhill pretty quickly, and most normal people didn't wake up on a daily basis and be scared at the age of 25 that I might live till 30. I thought, my God, if I have another 5 years of this, that was a horror story. My story wasn't one of using a huge number of drugs or getting into gang fights or anything. I was just like an ordinary person. But, my inside story was absolute. I was destroyed inside. I could barely look at people. I couldn't talk to people. I was a very, very lonely person. And drugs gave me that ability to talk to people in the beginning. But that didn't last for too long. So I came to meetings, and I got into recovery in Edinburgh in Scotland in 1988. And this fellowship wasn't in Edinburgh, Scotland, so I went to another 12-step fellowship, and they saved my life. And I will always be grateful to that. So I think my first understanding of a spiritual awakening when I first came around was that, I suddenly realized there was actually hope. That was my first spiritual awakening, because I had no hope. The other thing about me was that I did not realize that my problem was addiction. I had no idea. I thought I was just a bad person, and it took a while for that to leave, So recovery for me has been about learning to work the steps, about learning to find out about myself and who I am, and realize, what's important in life. Now I'm here. Obviously I didn't stay in Edinburgh in Scotland, so I moved to New Zealand, and I spent, the last 15 years in New Zealand going to Narcotics Anonymous, and Narcotics Anonymous has changed my life unbelievably, because that person who couldn't talk to anyone, who couldn't face himself, who couldn't look out and say hello to people, who struggled, was terrified to go to meetings. Today I can come here and share in front of you. And it's not that, I think, wow, I've got something amazing to share, because when I was thinking about coming here, I'm going, I'm just this guy from New Zealand who, I've got some fantastic friends in the fellowship in New Zealand, and, I get supported, but what have I got to share? One of my friends, I've got some fantastic friends here in the room and at the convention here today. And one of them said, just be yourself. And it's true. I've only got one story. It's quite easy not to get confused, And that's a big change, because when I first came here, I would tell you all sorts of shit. But I also had a really bad memory. So after a few weeks, people said, hang on a minute, that wasn't what you said 3 weeks ago. So, I was also a compulsive liar, right? I wasn't going to tell you who I was. No way. Because, first of all, I had no idea of who I was, And second of all, I thought if you knew who I was, there's no way you would ever talk to me again. And that, if recovery has been a journey, then there's some things that really stand out to me in my journey, and I'll share one of them with you, because for me a spiritual awakening is, that says at the end of our steps, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. And for me, every single one of those steps asks me to look at myself, my higher power, and my relationship to other people. It's actually all about relationship. This program of the steps to me is about getting to know myself, getting to know my higher power, getting to know people in recovery, and getting to know people in the world. Because, I have relationships with normal people today that I work with, that I talk to, that I have great friendships with, and that took a while too. So, when I first came along to NA, I knew that I had this past. I knew a lot of things happened to me in my life. A lot of things that weren't really very nice to remember, some really bad experiences for me. And one of the amazing things about recovery is that somebody asked me just recently, about 6 months ago, they said, why do you still go to meetings? Why do you still go to NA? You know, like, you've been going to NA for how long now? You know, 16 years you've been going to meetings. Why do you still go? And I had a realization at that minute, and I said, you know what? Because every single thing that happened to me in my life and who I am about why I became an addict is standing here right with me today. Nothing changed. You know, my history didn't change. Coming to NA didn't change the things that happened to me in my life. You know, the people that I was born to, you know, the relatives I had in my family who were also addicts, they didn't change. You know, some of them are dead. They can't change. They're still addicts, or they were, the genetic line. You know, all the things that I did, my personality, which is to, like, you know, do things impulsively without thinking about the consequences, that's still with me. You know, so, but you know, everything else has changed. My experience of that has changed. And that, for me, is an amazing experience because, you know, all the painful things that happened to me are still the same, but my relationship to them is completely different. Because I thought that because bad things happened to me, I was a bad person. Today I know that I'm a good person to whom bad things happened. You know, and it sounds so simple, you know, like I sometimes listen to myself say things like that and I go, how did it take me so long to work that out? You know, it's like, it took me a really long time to understand that, you know, bad things happen to really good people. You know, and I also believe that every person I have ever met in this fellowship and got to know, they're the same. They're good people and bad things happen to them. You know, I think, so spiritual awakenings came to me in many ways. You know, one of the ways was about these bad things that happened was that I knew all this stuff. You know, I'd walk around and I'd talk about things that happened, and I got to 3 years clean. And you know, these things were like pictures on the wall. They were memories, like, you know, printed on the walls around the room. But I walked around in the room and they didn't really touch me. And at 3 years clean, they jumped off the wall and got involved in my life. And my life turned to shit. You know, I'd worked for most of my life. I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't get out of bed and go to work anymore. I couldn't talk to people. I would sit, every morning I'd get up and I'd read Relapse and Recovery in the basic text about how the most painful times are our times of greatest growth. And I go, fuck, I really hope that's true, you know. It's really easy to look back at it and smile, but I wasn't smiling when this was happening. And I didn't know what was wrong, you know. I'd worked all the steps. I'd gone through steps 1 to 12. I went to lots of meetings, you know, I prayed. But I didn't know how to deal with what was happening on the inside. And I live in a country, you know, this is something quite special for me. I live in a country in New Zealand where we have a Maori culture. New Zealand's a bicultural country, and the Maori people in New Zealand are very special people. They have a very special way. And anyway, in the midst of this time that I was having such a hard time, I went to a treatment center. They ran a program for people having a hard time in recovery. So I thought, I read in the basic text, I can't take my ass and my face at the same time, so I better get humble and go along and ask for help. You know, it worked last time. You know, I could see that I wasn't doing too well. And the day I arrived in that centre, my flatmate tried to commit suicide. So I got a phone call that just about like an hour after I arrived, this guy's in intensive care, and I'm like, what should I do? Should I stay or should I go back and support them? And I walked around that treatment centre all day, and I talked to everybody, and everybody said, oh, what do you think? You know, do you think you should go back? You know, is it a good thing, or is it positives, or the negatives? It just wasn't doing it for me. That morning I got up, and I sat down at a table with a Maori lady, and I have no idea what her name is, but she gave me an amazing gift. She looked at me and she said, how are you? And I didn't say anything. She reached out and took my hand. And she touched my heart just by doing that. She carried a message. She didn't say a word. And that changed me, because she touched something in me and I knew what I needed to do. I needed to be true to my heart. And that meant I needed to do what I needed to do. And there was no intellectual thinking about, oh, well, what should I do? You know, is there some positives and negatives here? Somewhere inside me there was a heart. And that changed my life. And I don't know who that lady is, and, I might never meet her, but, I've met people like that in Narcotics Anonymous. And it's not the person, it's the message we carry. And, I just say, I know that I've sat and supported people, and she probably had no idea what she did for me. And I know that people have come to me and said, wow, you made a real difference for me. And I had no idea. Because this thing doesn't work when I set out to intellectualize it and go, hey, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to do something amazing here. Because this is my higher powers work sometimes that goes on here, not my work, So for me, I think awakenings of the spirit are very, very much about realizations. One of the things I love in our local fellowship, is seeing spiritual awakenings. I see it all the time. I see people walk in the doors and they sit in meetings and they look at the floor and they won't talk to anyone and they run away at the end of the meeting. And 2 weeks later, you see them outside standing on their own and you say, hello, how you going? A couple of months later, they're talking to people. Then they're coming out for tea and laughing and joking and giving people, in New Zealand when you tease someone, we say giving them grief or whatever, we say, they're teasing, hassling people, and they're doing that. These newcomers, they're joined in, they've joined the fellowship. And they're saying, what's a spiritual awakening? They had it, their spirit woke up. And I think that, in many ways, that's what keeps me coming here because, for me, this program is a program of continuous growth. And, I believe absolutely that no matter how long I've been in recovery, I need to be continuing to work the steps, continuing to find out about myself, continuing to discover who I am because, the person I was, that's past, and I can't be that person anymore. I can only be the person I can be right here today and now in this moment. So there's all these wonderful things I thought about telling you when I was thinking about what I'm going to share. Well, they're gone, I can't even remember what they were now. So it just reminds me, that living in the future doesn't help me too much. I remember, as part of my recovery, I had to share quite a few things with people about the bad stuff that happened to me. In some ways, I lived in a great family, and I see many, many gifts from my family now that I never saw when I came to this program. I'm alive. My family was good enough, right? I'm here, aren't I? I'm happy. I've got great friends. I've got a good life. My family's okay. It's sure it hurt, but I never met anyone who didn't have a painful experience in their life. So I don't want to minimize anyone's experience in saying that, But for me, my family, they made life hard sometimes. We didn't have a loving family, And it's still not particularly loving, but it's okay. Because, I'm okay with it. When I came to this program, I was not okay with that. And, my father came out to New Zealand a few years ago, and he said something really special to me. And it's something I knew, but it was the acknowledgement. He just said, I know we didn't have a loving family. That's the gift of recovery. I could never have imagined him saying that. For me, that was, in that simple sentence, was his acknowledgement that, as a dad, I could have done better. Well, I think that all the time as a person. I'm no different. I'm no different from any of these people that do their best, the parents and they all do their best. And that's been a long journey for me to realize that even though, I've got some bad memories, I've also got some great memories. And the other thing about it is that when I first came here, I didn't know what it was like or how to be a human being. I think that's probably the fundamental thing. When I look back on it, I had no idea that some of the things I experienced would affect me. It's like I said about pictures on the wall, I thought that, one of the things that happened to me was that, I discovered my mother when she tried to commit suicide. I thought that was okay. No big deal, right? It's not true. It is a big deal. I had no idea of that. I thought that I could go through my life isolated, not having any friends, not talking to anyone, and feel fine. I thought that. I really did. And it's this program that showed me that that is not true. There's a whole lot of things I needed to learn about taking responsibility in my life. We have a great saying in one of our preambles. Through my inability to take personal responsibility, I was actually creating my own problems. And that is as true for me today as it was the day I walked through this door. I can avoid taking responsibility for the way I live my life. I think that I can go to work, and I can work too much, and I can stay up late at night and do extra stuff and do heaps of service, and at the end I'll be happy. Not true. At the end of it, I get really miserable. But guess whose responsibility it is? It's my responsibility, I can blame my work and say, there's too much work to do, and I'm the guy that does it, right? And that principle is for me really, really critical, because there's a lot of things I've had to do in my recovery, like when I get a toothache, there's no point doing a fourth step, But, when I've got, when I have an emotional problem and, I need some help and some really bad things happen, I need to seek help. Narcotics Anonymous is a fantastic fellowship where we have a tradition about non-professionalism. And sometimes I need to ask for professional help. And that is okay. If I need help, I need to get it from wherever I can get it from. I still go to 2 or 3 meetings a week. I still have service positions. I still love helping people get into service. But it doesn't mean that I don't recognize that, professional people can help me too, if I need it. I guess, when I stand up here and I think about what I'm doing at the moment, and I think, wow, I've had a great experience of being on a work group for Narcotics Anonymous recently. And I was recently on one of these trips, and I just suddenly had this amazing experience of gratitude towards this fellowship, who, from my experience, took this person who couldn't even love themselves and has done so much for me, has really loved me. We have a saying, and I'm sure you have it here, loved me until I could love, the fellowship loved me until I learned how to love myself. And that's happened, because today I can, today I can stand up here and say I love myself. And I'm a great guy. And I'm okay. And I could never have done that in a million years. In fact, I couldn't have done that 5 years ago. Because this program doesn't stop working. It keeps on working and working and working. And all I need to do is do my best. Because I can't do any more than that, So, yeah, thank you, Narcotics Anonymous. Thank you very, very much for the privilege. So I don't know what life has to offer me. I don't know what's going to happen to me in the next 2 years. And, one of the things I came to when I was working through this program was, hey, how do I do this thing? The thing that's terrified me my whole life, that I've thought about doing. I had to share things with people that I didn't want to share. I spent months and years agonizing over that thing. It took 10 minutes to share that thing. It took 10 minutes. Afterwards, I was like, I can't believe I spent years stressing about that thing. And then I shared it. It was like, wow, the mountain I can build in my mind about what might happen if I take that next step. For me, living in today is one of the most powerful spiritual principles of this program. Because my mind just loves to go down the road and go, oh my God, how am I going to do that? And I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't even tell you guys that in 3 weeks' time, I'll be in a situation, and I know right now today for sure I'm going to stay clean, because I can't. I just know I'm not going to use today. Because my mind can take me, even at 16 years clean, to a situation, how am I going to stay clean? What am I going to do? I don't know what to do. I'm stressing out. It's all in my mind. None of it is real. I've never been given a situation in this program that I haven't been able to deal with. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Narcotics Anonymous. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share. I'd like to leave it there. Thanks.
Awesome. When I was 14 and I first came to my first NA meeting, I never thought I'd be here. And I got clean when I was 17 for the 20th time. I never thought I'd make it over here. And I just want everyone to give another round for Lorinda and Mark. It's like the 500th time I've been brought to tears in the last 3 days. I'd like to ask another New Zealander, could Johnny S. from New Zealand please come and do We Do Recover?
I'm John, an addict from New Zealand. We do recover. When at the end of the road we find that we can no longer function as human beings, either with or without drugs, we all face the same dilemma. What is there left to do? There seems to be this alternative. Either go on as best we can to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last choice. Those who are addicted today are more fortunate. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way has been proving itself in the lives of many addicts. It is available to us all. This is a simple program, not religious program, known as Narcotics Anonymous.
Some of the New Zealand Fellowship would like to do the Serenity Prayer for you before we close with the third step prayer in Māori, which is the native language of our country. So if there's any New Zealanders who know the karakia, if they could come up.
Yeah, small, right? Yeah.
Okay.
E te atua, tuko mai, he nākau, mahaki kia hau. Ki reto tonu te rangimari e roto i ngā loatanga. Me te kaha, ki te whakatika i ngā maratanga. Kia mātou, kia marama, hoki ki ngā, reretanga. Amen.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please help us improve our ranking so others can find us by putting a review on Stitcher, iTunes, or your favorite podcast index. Napod is ad-free thanks to the folks supporting the show with $1 or more per month. If you enjoy listening, you can join them by going to napod.xyz and looking for the donate link. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.